Thanks for joining us here at Good Teams Win Great Teams Cover. We're back with our divisional round review of the NFL playoffs. We're down to our final four. The Elite Eight are down to the final four after this week's games. And we've got two cracking matchups in the N and AFC Championships to look forward to. But we're going to talk about how we got there. We are, of course, going to go through all four games in some depth. We're going to go over how our betting weekend went. Hands up, terrible for me. So we'll talk through Joe and Byron, how their weekends went. And we'll go through our fourfolds, ATS picks, and the Fantasy Game Day winning lineup as well. I reckon with the Fantasy Game hoodie here today. Before we then sign off, headed into the final three games of the season. Byron, Joe, we always talk about this being the best weekend of football. How was it for you? Did it live up to expectation?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. A lot better than last week's kind of turgid games. I think 3 really good games and then one that was good, but it didn't quite live up to the other 3. But yeah, I think it was quite exactly what you'd expect for on wildcard weekend. Divisional weekend. It's not super wildcard weekend anymore. It's super divisional weekend.
Super divisional round. It was snowy divisional round weekend, and I guess we'll get to that as well. But Joe, how was it for you?
Yeah, it was great. Like you said, 3 cracking games, some upsets, some, close games coming down right to the end. It's what playoff football should be. And, it was the you don't turn the ball over, you win games weekend. Because, there was don't know if you saw the interesting fact that all the teams who lost had more yards than the team they lost against. But, we'll get into them games and say why the turnovers mattered quite a lot in these games.
Yeah. Turnovers cost you games. Who knew? And what a way to find out. And what a time for some of these teams to find out. I guess probably the biggest culprit of that is our first game. And it feels bad to start on that side of it. But it was the Detroit Lions who, I don't know if you two share this, I kind of feel pissed down their own leg here. Number 1 seed at home, 9.5-point favourites, or 8.5, whatever it closed at. Huge favourite at home, off a bye against the Washington Commanders. And the Commanders, for my money, blew them away. The Commanders were incredible. 45-31. Jane Daniels was incredible. Yes, they benefited from some sloppy Detroit play, plenty of turnovers, but they made them count. And I thought they were phenomenal. Guys, how did you see Commanders, Lions?
I think it's easy to get caught up in the Lions of it all, but I think really you need to give ultimate and maximum respect to Washington. Detroit didn't play a perfect game. I mean, they had 5 turnovers. I think it's really fair to call it 4. 1 was at the death.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jared Goff was far from perfect. Jameson Williams shouldn't have thrown that pass. But what Washington did is kind of marvelous. They made every single Detroit moment of weakness, inopportune play, counted for the maximum. Like Washington, I think if Washington had anything less than a perfect game, Detroit could have still won this game, even with 4 turnovers or 5, like say, right at the end. But Jane Daniels, Dan Quinn were just they had the foot to the floor the entire game. They no letting up, no taking it easy, no nerves. I thought they were absolutely incredible. Everything we thought about Jaden Daniels in his rookie season, all the best of it was encapsulated here. And man, this is a special player. I felt Washington were pretty much perfect on Saturday. It's really,
they kind of, this might be a tad unfair again, but they kind of out-Lions the Lions a lot. Like, again, in terms of the aggression, they were just as, we talk at length about, how aggressive the Lions are and how often they go for it on 4th down. Well, the Commanders went for it 4 times here as well, and they just keep going for it. And it's fair play, when we talked last week about sort of Dan Quinn and maybe sort of him reflecting on his previous time in Atlanta and around, look, if he gets another shot at it, he ain't going to going to, leave any questions or wonder ifs and buts. He's just going to go for it and be aggressive, and they've stuck to that, and they've been absolutely tremendous. Jaden Daniels is unreal, as you mentioned. It's phenomenal. They got a bit more help as well. I think they were a bit more balanced this week. We've all been crying out for that running game to improve for Washington for the last number of weeks. It just hadn't been. Bang, this week it did. Brian Robinson, where's he been for the last month? All of a sudden, a bit of a better game. Austin Eckler had a decent game on only half a dozen carries. That helped balance things a little bit, and I think helped kind of keep Detroit, that Detroit defense guessing a little bit and struggling. Joe, what did you make of kind of how the Commanders attacked the Lions?
Yeah, they just, especially that first half, they couldn't stop them. Now, the only time they stopped them was the first drive where they went for that fourth down, which was a terrible play from them with Max Mariota. I don't know what was happening on that play. But it just felt like the Lions' injuries finally caught up with them. They had a team who just exploited them. Obviously, on the second play, they go down another cornerback. Was it Robertson? Broke his arm, which they didn't have to show that replay again. But
that was rough.
Yeah. So yes, I think just how many cornerbacks had down. I think when you see, I think it was like 16 defenders they've got an IR or something crazy like that. When you look at their starting defense, it's just all crossed out, the starters and the backups as well. So they've backups of backups. So it's I think they finally just couldn't cope. You got to commend them to get that number one seed, but it always felt like, with that Lions defense, there could be a team who could exploit them, and what they had to do to win it is play, no turnovers and score more than them. But as soon as it was the fumble, what I thought was massive, the Jared Goff fumble, because it felt like they were having their way with the Commanders other than the first drive. They had a long touchdown before that, and then that fumble where they were the Washington 17, and I think that was huge for the Commanders to get up. And then it felt like, even though Detroit got another touchdown after that, it just felt like after that they were always just trying to play a catch up, and they just couldn't quite make it there. And obviously the interception from Goff wasn't great, and they just steamrolled them and didn't let up.
Yeah, I mean, it was just relentless, and I stupidly felt it might have been a bit of a tighter game in terms of Detroit might have been a bit better on defense. I think I called out Anzalone being back might have helped from an organizational perspective. And it just wasn't. The over nearly hit before halftime. It was 55 and a half. I think it was 52 at halftime. So, that absolutely just had no chance. But, I mean, I just didn't. Usually in these games, like when we've had these games, I've kind of felt the Lions are going to come back. And I just didn't in this one. I never got that feeling at any point. And I think it was the Bills game. I kind of thought, the Lions might come. The Lions can come back. I just didn't. I think just really felt like Commanders had it under complete control. And defensively as well, while they aren't a top defense, their defense is good enough, I think, to be able to just kind of hang on relatively to the offense. Because, yes, obviously they were opportunistic. Some of them were gifts, but I think they just do enough and just scrape enough and get the odd stop here and the odd stop there to allow the offense to go and do what it can do. And we saw that probably to its max. I think that's probably the best performance I've seen out of this Commanders unit, and that's probably the bit as well. They seem to be getting better, the Commanders. Yeah. We saw some great performances from early in the season, then they maybe tailed off a bit, but it just seems they've just steadily been getting better and better and better. Then they'll really fancy their chances against the Eagles next week, when they were only 3 weeks ago where they beat the Eagles. Yes, Hurts missed a lot of the game. Yeah, got knocked out of the game, but I still think they'll fancy the chances. From this one, I suppose let's deal with the fallout first. I don't know if I won't be mean, because we've got some good friends who are Lions fans. And there's a lot of the guys who come on who are Detroit Lions fans who have been pretty cool about their rise and stay humble, remember where it came from. But my God, some of the stuff before the game, which I think came more from Detroit sports media, how crazy over the top they got. Yeah. I was kind of a little bit okay to see the Lions get beat here and have to eat a bit of humble pie.
Well, you don't remain underdogs for long. Ultimately, they were underdogs in this game, and yeah, there's been a lot of, like you said, I think for the most part, fan base is really good, but there's been a lot of bad images. Vikings fans got a rough time of it in week 18, and a lot of the unsatisfactory or unpleasing images after the game yesterday as well, or Saturday, of just fans being, the kind of fans who go to these kind of games only and, don't know who any Lions were in 2016. So, yeah, it stinks, but it's price of success, I guess.
Yeah,
I did just want to
go on,
kind of touch on the game a bit more, though. Like, I just think, as much as I'm saying, like, Washington were basically perfect and Detroit offense obviously did come up short, I don't think, Aaron Glenn, I've seen is coming for some criticism. And I just kind of think, like, you look at what he has to work with. I think, Joe, you said 16 players unavailable. Detroit sent 4 men rush on 46% of their dropbacks, got 0 pressures. When they blitzed, Jaden Daniels didn't have a single negative play. He had a QBR of 99.4 on QB blitzes. Nothing they did worked on defense. Like, and it's easy to say, like, again, I've seen some of this, like, was Aaron Glenn and I said Ben Hutchinson. I'm thinking of Aiden Hutchinson, Ben Johnson. Like, were the two caught up in the head coaching interview? It's like, I just think that's such nonsense. Like, these guys would give anything to win a Super Bowl, not because it's Detroit, but it's because it's their profession. There's no way it's taken away from them. Like, Jameson Williams shouldn't have thrown that ball. That's not on. Like, maybe, yeah, Ben Johnson shouldn't have called such a wild play, but, when he called the wild play for David Montgomery to shove it in Amon-Ra St. Brown's gut, no one's saying, oh, he shouldn't be getting too cute. Like, it's the same old, Monday morning quarterback stuff that really bugs me every year. Like, Dan Campbell got criticised last year in the NFC Championship game for being too aggressive, but we're not saying the same about Dan Quinn this year because he succeeded. Like, I just think Ben Johnson, it's more Jameson Williams should have thrown that ball away, obviously. I can understand why they were getting cute because things weren't going as they expected and as they wanted to. Like, it's easy to say again, like, you should just lean on Jahmyr Gibbs because it's going well. Well, it's going well until it doesn't. And if you come one-dimensional, you need to score. Your defense can't slow down Washington. You need to keep scoring. So, like, it's one thing to say you're getting too cute, but you're also 2 scores down. So I kind of felt a bit bad for the the Detroit coordinators getting, like, after such an incredible couple of years, I don't think they really came up short as much as, like, they just kind of ran out of bodies, and Washington were incredible. Like, everything Washington did, especially on offense, but on defense as well, really came up trumps for them. I don't think there needs to be, like, a villain in every story. Like, Washington were incredible. Detroit played a pretty good game, but it's a playoffs, only one team goes through. And, like, sometimes being, like, 75% of your best against a team who's 100% of their best just isn't good enough. Like, c'est la vie, it happens.
So that was a question I was going to ask about the change in, as that play calling or however you want to put it. Like, they needed to protect that defense. So I feel like the criticism of Aaron Glenn is daft and ridiculous. Like, the offense needed to protect the defense, win the time of possession battle, keep that defense on the sideline. Yeah. Don't expose them. 4 turnovers, like I say, you can discount the 5th. 4 turnovers doesn't do that. And I suppose you can maybe even discount one of the other ones as well. It cost them points, but points off the board, I guess. That was right before halftime, wasn't it? But yeah, don't put them in a position where they keep needing to be out on the field. And so there's that element of it. The move away from Jahmyr Gibbs in particular, because it felt like that was the right move in terms of a bit earlier in the game and we saw one drive where it was just an entire Jahmyr Gibbs drive.
Yeah.
And you have Montgomery back and you can balance things out a little bit so you can afford to lean on Gibbs a little bit more. What do you think caused them to move away from that? Because I don't think Washington were answering that question. And I feel like that in that situation, that should be just keep going till they start to show they can stop it a little bit. And then you've got, obviously, that array of other weapons.
I think it did become more of a desperation thing when they fell behind 10 points. It was more need to get the ball down the field quicker. That was my take on it. Also, like, you've got the rotation with Gibbs and Montgomery. Montgomery didn't look like himself just yet. I think he could have done with another week, ideally. And I think there's probably just concern that, we didn't see it, but I would expect Jameer Gibbs was probably just feeling it a bit, and he had been rode, kind of till the wheels come off like the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. Obviously, they did have a bye in there, but I just kind of think it is tough sledding. And, they had rotated him with Montgomery for at least one drive, but like I say, Montgomery didn't look like himself. He certainly didn't look like Pacheco, not himself, but like he looked a little off himself. And I think, just being down 10, they just needed to get that ball down the field. And Jared Goff, I think, if anybody, I think you want to target as came up short when he mattered, I think you'd say it was Jared Goff. Unfortunately, because I do like him.
Yeah, I wonder how, because obviously the interception, he got hit pretty hard during that. And he obviously went out of series, and then Teddy Bridgewater just comes in and throws like that crazy touchdown where celebrating when he's still got 25 yards to run, which you don't really see on the football field. But I am curious how much, like, if that did affect Jared Goff. I know it's easy to say, like, we don't know. Like, it may not affect him at all, but it could have, and they may have tried to change some of the game plan around just because if certain other quarterbacks probably got hit that way, that play would have been chucked out and ran for the league. But there's no flag, and obviously it would have mean the interception touchdown wouldn't happen. They would have had it like the 5-yard line or 20-yard line, which can make a difference. But I wonder if that is, and I think I've similar to you, Byron, with that trick play. That was the most frustrating because you're 10 points down with 12 minutes to go. I understand why they're throwing it because they're just giving up a 8-minute drive to the Commanders. So they're probably thinking we need to score, and they may do a long drive, but we need to try and hold them out to a field goal or try and stop them in some way. But I don't know what James. I feel like Jameson Williams just saw headlines and thought he was the next big QB because when he went out there, it wasn't even like it was a 50-50. It wasn't. It was covered by 2 players. Like, even if a top quality quarterback like Mahomes, if he threw it into that coverage, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Because so you're a wide receiver trying to put it in there, the perfect ball. It was crazy from today, and I think he just did it. It felt like one of them is like, oh, they schemed this, and he should be on his own. But I'm going to throw it whatever happens. It was just, that was crazy, and I feel like that was game over as soon as that with 10 points down, 12 minutes to go, and the Commanders just went march down and got more points. So disappointing end for the Lions team, which as Dan Campbell says, you're not guaranteed to get back to that position ever again. So we'll see what happens. But with better injury luck, it could have been their year.
Just on that note, then Dan Campbell was real upset. He's not scared. He shows his emotions quite a lot in post game press conferences. He was trying to hold it together. I suppose this is a similar situation to where Philly were at the end of the 2022 season. Both coordinators are going to go. I don't think there's any doubt. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are going to take jobs, very much like Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, I remember, took jobs at the end of that, kind of when they got beat in the Super Bowl. And then we saw Philly struggle the next season in terms of first half of the year was good, and then second half of the year really, really, really struggled. And maybe we discounted the impact that the coordinators have. How do we feel kind of about the Lions moving forward, about whether they promote from within or go outside or whatever they do with those 2 positions and where this team's at the minute? Do we feel that it can still be, a 15-win season is incredible. I'm not saying that, but do we still think they can be towards the top of the NFC?
So I thought you were going to say something just I stopped. I think it's really tough to say. I trust Dan Campbell to have the culture right. Obviously, I trust Brad Holmes to draft well. But things don't last forever. Your players want to start, that you've drafted well, want paid. Obviously, we've seen that they can replenish well to get to the NFC divisional round with, 5,000 players on IR is obviously incredible. But yeah, nothing does last forever, and you do need to replenish. I think it'll be real important to see who they get in to replace. But ultimately, I trust them to be at the top of the NFC again next year.
Yeah, because they've still got the players. I think the players win it really. If you've got a good squad, we've seen plenty of bad head coaches get a team, far because they've got an amazing team. So I think they should be able to replace his made the great culture. A lot of the players are drafted who, are top of their positions. They're probably got another year or so before they get contracts like Gibbs, Hutchinson, and all them. You still, Goff's still a reliable quarterback. I know he wasn't great there, but and also the NFC doesn't have the elite, the elite 5-4 quarterbacks. Jane Daniels, who knows? See where he goes. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback, but is he going to have a CJ Stroud next year? You don't know. We all thought CJ Stroud was going to be up there, and he wasn't. So, the NFC's not got the you've got to go through these like 2 or 3 quarterbacks to even get to the Super Bowl. It's like the opposite. It's more about squads. So I think they definitely can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to go out and say Daniels is elite, incredible. I'm still absolutely standing by. The Bears should have fucking took him at 1. I was hammering on about that all off season. Can't be right on that take after 1 year, of course, but damn, it looks good right now. But yeah, phenomenal stuff. And just another shout again. We talked a lot about the Commanders last week about the 4-win team last season and all that. But I think this thing that I saw yesterday probably sums it up. So of rookie quarterbacks to get to a championship game, I think there were 6 before, 6 or 7 I saw this week. All had top 3 scoring defenses. The Commanders are middle of the pack. And that just shows how good they've been, how good Daniels has been, how good Cliff Kingsbury has been. I think he's got to get his. We talked about the Kingsbury dip.
Adam Murray's hating this, didn't he?
Yeah. We talked about the Kingsbury dip earlier in the season, and obviously he's got past it, worked out whatever it is, and come again strong. So incredible stuff from the Commanders, and really looking forward to that game. It's going to be such a good game against the Eagles next week, and they can win. They absolutely can win.
And what's great about this? Yeah, what's great about the Commanders getting to conference championship is now the Cowboys have the longest streak of not getting there in the NFC. So now they're all on their own. So
by quite a way, it's like 15 years to Chicago. The next one, I think.
I think I read the stat this week or yesterday. Since Cowboys were last in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts and Jane Daniels have been born and are now going to be in the NFC Championship game. So, been a while.
Jerry knows what he's doing. No one does it better than him.
Nobody does it like Jerry. You just wait till Brian Shaw.
Cowboys talk this week.
He's the Cowboys head coach. Jesus Christ. We'll both have a full-on meltdown. Right, yes, that is the first half of the NFC divisional game. Next up, and shout out Diami Brown again. He was incredible. Another fantastic game for Diami Brown. Don't think he had any more than 4 catches in a game before the playoffs, and I think he's 11 catches from 13 targets, 187 yards and a touchdown through 2 playoff games. Incredible.
And I just shout, and also sad news that I don't know if you saw Sam Cosme, the pretty good guard for Commanders, did his ACL, which sucks to not play for Commanders them years and then miss out on the championship.
Sure, be cheering them on. Eagles, they play the Eagles next. They won 28-22. This got real nervy at the end from a game that Philly seemed in complete control over. And it got a bit wild at the end. 28-22. Snow game, always fun. Snow got real bad. And it kind of felt that Rams hadn't really taken their opportunities earlier in the game to get points on the board. But they had a shot to win it at the end. Stafford engineering another one of them 4th quarter comebacks that we've seen so many of over the years. This time fell just short. Lent on Saquon, it was a bit of a repeat of the Sunday night game we saw back in week 12. Saquon was just breaking the big, he had 2 big runs that he broke. The second one looked like was the nail in the coffin for the Rams, but obviously they fought back. But yeah, as expected, I think, in terms of kind of the way the Eagles were going to play, lent on Barkley, got the job done.
100%, yeah, basically that's it. And I think the more they lent on Barkley, the better. Every time Jalen Hurts dropped back, it felt like, oh, this is a mistake. What are you doing that for? Which, not sure how much confidence that builds for, a game next week where they probably will need to throw the ball more. And I'm not sure what the conditions will be next week, but yeah, I don't expect just Barkley will work every week, but he certainly did this week. And yeah, I'm a little worried about Jalen Hurts, but I guess we'll leave that for now. Because yeah, credit to the Eagles. The line came good when it mattered, and that we talked about this in the preview. I think that's where this game was always going to be won and lost, was the trench essentially. Can the Eagles O-line stand up to the Rams defensive line, and can the Eagles defensive line push around the Rams O-line? And for a lot of the game, that was a real close thing. The Rams ended up with 7 sacks, which I don't have the stats on how many times the Eagles have allowed that many sacks in a season, this season, in a game. But it feels like a lot. It looked like a lot. And if the Rams were going to win this game, it was obviously on the back of that defense. Jared Verse was having himself a great game, letting everyone know about it as well, pre-game, post-game. Well, not so much post-game, during the game, I mean. But yeah, ultimately, the Eagles did enough. And yeah, like you say, shout out Saquon Barkley, 460 yards, 4 touchdowns against the Rams this year. Touchdowns of 78, 72, 70, and 62 yards. In those 2 games against the Rams, he outrushed Devin Singletary, his replacement for the year in New York. He had 437 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns, which I'm wondering if New York maybe thinks they should just pay to Saquon.
You think? Yeah. Every Eagles game, I just keep seeing the clips from the pre
John Mara
and yeah.
So good.
And the other one did it. We just talked about the Commanders, but the other one did its rounds where he was asking his kids, "Oh, who should I draft?" Yeah, it's like, "Oh, you should just trade up for Jaden Daniels." And the quote afterwards, "If you're gonna be here, why not try and win?"
Try and win, yeah. It's so good. Makes the kid a fucking GM. He gets it.
Yeah.
I mean, Malik Neighbors was a good pick as well, but Jaden Daniels changes your franchise forever.
Yeah. I mean, maybe so, because we hear Woody Johnson's kids are pretty much the GM, and
doesn't always work, I guess. Maybe it's check your kid's got a brain first, but and also Saquon Barkley wouldn't be here if he was with the New York Giants. So thankfully the Giants don't know what they're doing, and it's given us an incredible season of football from Saquon Barkley, who he's not going to be MVP, but he should be Offensive Player of the Year. So
yeah, I mean, about the Eagles, they gave up 7 sacks. They only give up 38 sacks through 17 regular season games, and Tampa Bay got them for 6. That was in a bit of a funky game earlier in the season, but yeah, they're just so comfortable in this game, and then all of a sudden, it was game on. Why did the Rams not go hurry up earlier in the game? Because they just carved Philly apart completely on that drive to get it to within 6. And you just felt, well, had they pushed it like that earlier in the game, where they didn't allow substitutions, and that D-line was getting a little bit tired. I know kind of Jalen Carter stays in the game, but anyway, but that D-line was visibly tired and struggling. Why, if McVay had that in his pocket and it was a strategy they were going to use, why not go to it earlier?
I think there's a part of the Eagles. I don't know if they'll let them have it, but the Eagles did go into more prevent defense as well. I think those stunts killed Stafford. The amount of times where he thought he had another 2 seconds, went to reset, and Jalen Carter was on his head, in his face. It seemed to happen every single time Stafford essentially double clutched the ball. It was I've got another second here, I can look downfield. It's no, you can't look downfield, buddy. You need to have got rid of that ball already. Whereas it kind of felt to me once Saquon scored, I felt the Eagles defense kind of backed off a little and kind of just wait and try and pick it off and play really conservatively. I don't know if it was a 7-point. I mean, to be fair, Stafford did go back down the field again when they were in hurry up. So maybe I'm just completely wrong. But it felt to me like the defense backed off a little bit. I don't know why, but teams often I think find themselves doing that when they go up 10, 14 points towards the end of the game. They just go like mega conservative, play free event, and hope we can either catch one or slow them down enough.
And is that a difference maybe where in this way, maybe the Eagles versus the, I don't know, Commanders, and maybe it's just because defensively, but where you feel like stay aggressive, like Philly have been through this journey before in terms of they've been beat by the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I don't think you want to be in those habits of sitting off, playing conservatively, because Matthew Stafford, one of the all-time best, if not the all-time best at those fourth quarter comeback, so I certainly got the most. Well, the guy in red, number 15, also pretty damn good at him. And if those are the situations you get yourself into, I feel like you want to be playing them a little bit more aggressively. That's by the by. I think one of the key moment in this one for me, Kyron Williams. Obviously, we know he's had fumble issues a lot. I feel like in this one, just with the way it is, the weather was miserable. Are you not just? Is there not emphasis, or is that a lack of coaching, or is there not emphasis on keep that football has to be looked after, practice the right ways to, So they'll talk about the 5 points of pressure. I don't think Kyron Williams had 2 points of pressure on that ball when he was just so loose with it, and it was huge at that point in the game.
Yeah, I don't know if you could blame the coaches. As a professional playing in the NFL, he should know how to hold him to the ball. He's played for long enough now. So it was after the safety, which he was like, we thought that was going to be a massive turn. Getting it to 1 point, getting the ball, good field positions to then fumble straight away, and then the next drive fumble again. I know you only gave up 6 points, which is not a massive amount, but it did change the game. It just gave that the Eagles that little cushion where if they kept it close, who knows what would have happened. But yeah, it was a strange game. I think obviously the weather didn't help. I think it's hard to you look at the Washington Lions game, but they were playing indoors, so it's a big difference than playing in when the snow was coming down and it was absolutely throwing it down after like the first quarter or so. So yeah, I thought I thought the Eagles deserved to win it, but they weren't incredible. It was just like you said, it was weird when Barkley scored that touchdown. He was like, okay, this is done, wrapped up, sorted, and then suddenly Stafford had a chance to win it, but Jalen Carter, who everyone like writ off during the draft, when the Eagles managed to snag him, saying he was one of the best draft picks and all that kind of stuff, it's actually worked out this time. And yeah, he had a huge game, and that defense stepped up when it mattered. And yeah, they had a few little injuries. Obviously, Quinion Mitchell went out, but it seems like he's fine. I think Hurts kept looking hurt every time he had a few big hits, and he was like limping around, and I think that affected him as well. But he still ran for 10 yards per rush, so I think he had a decent game. And yeah, not the greatest throw-in, but AJ Brown dropped one at the goal line, which would have been some decent yards. And when you play these type of games, you look across the games which were played outside, not many of them like threw plenty of yards. So yeah, I don't hold too much on that game for Hurts.
Yeah, but tough obviously with the weather conditions as well. But yeah, the sat where Hurts kind of got caught up, his leg got caught up underneath him and bent, looked horrible. I think he played the rest of the game in a knee brace. So yeah, one to watch for heading into next week. He was just taking big hits, and that Rams defensive front almost replicated what they did against the Vikings last week. With 7 sacks, but good year for the Rams. I think they did it again. Coming back late in the season to kind of win the division. And yeah, kind of mentioned that Quinion Mitchell going out. I thought they did a good job of I know Niku Randy was 6 for 97, but a lot of that was late. He didn't really hurt them like he has other teams. Cooper Kupp remained relatively quiet, and yeah, good job from the Eagles, and they host the Commanders next week, which will be a fun one. Some talk about what Stafford's going to do. Do you think Stafford's back, or do you think he might call it a day?
I presume he'll come back. I think it's a lot easier to walk away on a win, but I don't know how his body feels, so it's hard to say exactly. But
I think it's smashed by Jalen Carter, not very good. Oh yeah, try and block Jalen Carter as well. That's some advice for the Commanders next week.
Help, right?
Actually, try and block him.
Because I mean, you go from 3rd and 2 to what, 4th and 11, 4th and
Yeah.
12. I think that final play was, and like, I don't know the percentages, but I know they ain't great on converting 4th and 11 versus 4th and 2. So like anything a throwaway is better than a 9-yard, 10-yard sack.
Yeah.
That was a sad way to go out because there's a lot of ways to lose a game, but you don't want to go out with such a huge busted, I don't say coverage, but busted alignment being the what if? Because the way they were moving the ball, they easily could have went ahead there. But I think Stafford will be back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he retires. Until I see someone retiring, I kind of think they'll be back. I think for the most part. What do you think?
Yeah, what was he? 36. So he'll be 37 at the start of next season. I think is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe I don't know how long he's got left on his deal. Maybe the Rams try and draft someone as well. Somebody McVay friendly that they can develop.
It's not Stetson Bennett season.
I don't think it's ever going to be Stetson Bennett season, sadly. I think he's like 28.
He's got 2 more years under contract.
Maybe then, and then maybe they draft someone to try and develop or find someone to develop as well.
Yeah, I think what I've seen is it gets like a $4 million bonus in 2 or 3 months. So we should know basically if it's staying or not in the next 2 months because it's like a roster bonus.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. You cashed at Tyler Higbee, anytime touchdown scorer, Byron. We talked in the preview about how he had a good game last week. And,
Again, Cooper Kupp. Did Kupp have a couple of catches? He had 5. Jeez, I didn't realize it was as many as 5. It didn't feel like it. But I didn't think Kupp would be as involved. Max Robinson, I felt like had a pretty good game. But Tyler Higbee, 7 catches, 10 targets, has really become Stafford's security blanket. I think that's somewhere they could do with addressing as a real tight end because Higbee's fine, but he's always just kind of been that guy his entire career. There's a lot of talk they wanted to trade up for Brock Bowers last year, and I mean they wouldn't have had Jared Verso, so it's here's a balance. But imagine Brock Bowers in that offense.
Fair play to Jared Verse as well, continuing to stick it to the Eagles fans at the link. Yeah. The entire pre-game, obviously his comments, pre-game warm-ups, every time he made a play was just sticking it to the Philly fans. Fair play to Jared Verse. And then, I don't think I had to push Eagles -6. I thought I got really shafted in this game, the way it was going. Like, it was ambling towards Eagles covering and the under. Just the way it was going, and then...
Jake Elliott missing 2 extra points.
Yeah.
I think he made all his field goals, right? And missed 2 extra points.
Yeah, he missed 2 extra points, yeah. Bizarre.
It's an odd way to do it.
Yeah. But, we were alive a little bit. And then, we didn't have a great week between us all. It was rough one in the divisional round. Sometimes it happens. On to the AFC then. That's the NFC matchup. Eagles, Commanders. Right, just quick one. Winner, Eagles, Commanders. Just a winner, not ATS. Just give me a winner.
Give me Washington.
Give us Commanders.
Yeah, fuck it, Commanders.
That's Eagles nailed on.
It's Eagles nailed on. I think the Commanders in the Super Bowl is going to be more fun.
Commanders Bill rematch of Super Bowl somewhere in the early 90s.
Let's say 90. Let's say 90.
Is that the fourth of the losses? The 4 straight losses. Was that Eagles? Our word, as it would have been then. Not Eagles, sorry, Bills. Our word. Was that the 4th one? I feel like Cowboys was the 3rd one.
91 season was Washington. Bill.
Yeah, so it was, yeah.
Great shout, Joe.
Good stuff. Right, on to the AFC. Let's start with Saturday. Chiefs, Texans. Joe, do you want to get the refs off your chest first? Because I feel like it's been bubbling.
No, it's, I think for me, they weren't like crazy decisions. I understand them, but I think they were very soft. And you see the other games, there was a few hits on, there was definitely one on Lamar. There was the Jared Goff. There was a few other ones where you just know 100% if that was Patrick Mahomes, there's probably a flag coming out. And I'm not saying like the Chiefs in general. I think when you actually look at the stats, it's not like they get preferential treatment compared to other teams. It just feels like sometimes, I think They're just like the one way he hit his like chest, but he like raised his helmet. It's just like if it was consistent, I probably could accept it more. But it just feels like sometimes as soon as that happened, you knew what was going to come. I had a more issue with the sliding one, just because he's a quarterback who does it a lot where he looks like he's pretending to slide but stays up, or he looks like he's going out and then and then he cuts in and gets another 5 yards, and it feels like, oh, it's okay if him doing that, but if he finally, he was dodging in and out of tackles and then he finally slid. Like, what is the defender supposed to do? Like, how does he know? Like, he slid literally like a yard away from them players. Like, how are them defenders supposed to just say, oh, because if they didn't tackle him and he didn't slide, they would look absolutely fools and everyone would get onto him. And they caught his head, but the main contact was on each other. I just felt like they were both soft. And then when he does the thing where he's running out of bounds and he stops and the player hit him, it's just like little things like that. It's like, come on, you can't give him that much. If they're looking for that in Trent and they're bending the rules, I think it's something they need to look into. I think I saw someone mentioned maybe that if they slide, they've got to be at least 2 or 3 yards away from a defender while sliding. If you're closer, then the defender's got, the defender can try and tackle them. But I don't know. I just feel like, especially that sliding one, just how long he was up for, like darting in and out, and then finally sliding the defender's feet. It's a bit like, nah, that's not for me. I don't think that didn't make the Chiefs win or anything. I don't think if they didn't have them penalties, then the Chiefs would have lost. But it's just a bit frustrating sometimes.
He didn't get the one on the sideline, did he? Where he was falling to go out. Yeah,
he was looking for that.
He's trying to goad them into hitting him as he's going out 15 yards. Yeah, that one I feel like a real change needs to be done for that one, just to give them a bit more leeway on the sideline, I think. But anyway, yeah, for me, they were about that. As soon as you go near the head or neck, it's just going to get called. Like, it is. I don't like it, but I was just like, oh, it's a penalty. Like, and someone was trying to tell me on our Twitter feed that the one where he does slide, they don't hit him in the head. They hit each other. It's like, well, both of them contact his head or neck area.
They hit each other and Mahomes.
Yeah. But the problem I have with that slide, how are you supposed to tackle him then? Well, you just.
I'm not saying. Yeah, I get that. It's difficult.
I agree. The one where he's in the pocket and it goes up. Like, I'm like, yeah. Again, I think it's tough because it feels like it hit his chest there and it goes up. But the sliding one, it's a bit like, if he's sliding and you don't know he's going to slide or not, how are you supposed to tackle someone then?
Well,
you're supposed to just let him slide.
They got rid of the fake slide rule, didn't they? Because you could fake slide before. I can't really. Yeah, it's Kenny Pickett in college for Pitt, who ended up running touchdowns. So they got rid of that almost immediately after that, or the first opportunity that happened. They got rid of that. It's tough.
I almost think that you just need to tackle high, because if he slides, then obviously you're not going to hit him. He's going to slide into your legs.
And so he's going down regardless,
Yeah, I don't really like that, but I also feel like defenders need to be smarter because they're not going to get help from the referees.
Yeah.
Because it's an offensive game. It was funny when I watched the Manning cast for the first Monday night playoff game, and I can't remember what it was. It was a rough in the passer penalty, I'm pretty sure. And Peyton and Eli were like, the refs have got to do more to help the defenders out. And Bill Belichick was just laughing, you guys don't know the sport. This is an offensive league. They will never help defenders out. And Mahomes maybe does get a bit more than the average, but I think it also helps that the Chiefs run offense in big games a lot, so people see them a lot. You're getting these big calls. I think Josh Allen gets a lot more than, maybe not a lot more, but he gets a lot of calls. I'm not saying more. Tom Brady got a lot in his career. Your big players who you see on, primetime Ireland games, playoff games, getting flags. It's the game is just softer than it used to be. For better or worse. And I think defenders just need to be smarter. Like I say, don't slide at Patrick Mahomes' legs because he's probably going to fuck you.
I think if a quarterback is out the pocket and then is a runner, then he should be treated as a runner. I think that's why that's how I see it, because if that was just a running back, for example, no one would have said anything. It would have been fine. But he went out the pocket. Well, yeah, good point. Yeah, but still,
a running back initiates contact. That's what I was saying in our chat the other day. Just wait for the quarterback to initiate contact, and or tackle high. Patrick Mahomes isn't going to initiate contact with these players. He's going to slide. So don't slide where his head's going to be. It's a disadvantage, but So's giving up 15 yards because you got fucked because he's cleverer than you are. Like,
but then I'm guessing if you're going for like Josh Allen and you do try and tackle up high, then people say, "Oh, that's the wrong tackling technique because you need to go low to bring players down." So
yeah, people like Josh Allen is a real tough one because he can just bulldoze you.
Yeah.
Mahomes, I think you have more thing of like he's not going to try and push through you.
Right, let's actually talk about the game in some detail then, rather than just the refs. I feel like we just ended up doing what I was trying to avoid. Chiefs won 23-14. Before we get into the depths of the game, shout out for anybody that was on the Texans plus 9.5. Backdoored it with the punter safety. Obviously, it closed at 9.5. It was 8.5. It closed at 9.5.
Yeah.
One of the greatest backdoor covers ever seen in the NFL. Tremendous stuff. Just couldn't believe it when I was watching it. I was like, I can't believe you're going to do it and couldn't cover it. And then conversely, all those that were on the Chiefs minus 9.5, absolutely heartbroken that cost them the cover and a win. I was on the over. And once the Texans got down to the 5-yard line on that kind of their last drive, I was like, oh, great, they're going to score. Anyway, so that boded me. But it's positive to the Texans. Texans, I thought actually played pretty well. They didn't play perfect because that's what they were going to need. They weren't a million miles away from perfect. And they gave themselves a real good chance here against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think Joe Mixon especially first half, had a real good game. I think they could have lent on him a little more, maybe. But I think offensively they were as good as we could have hoped for, considering what they were in the regular season. And in fact, this is from Ben Solak. I don't know if you've seen this one, sorry. Per ESPN Stats and Info, Texans first team to outgain their opponent by 100 yards, not turn the ball over and lose a postseason game. 49-1, that stat now was 49-0 going into the game. So I don't really know what else the Texans could have done, other than have the rest on their side, I guess. Again, not perfect, but like a very disciplined game, very professional game. Just a calf Byron making all his kicks would have helped.
Well, you left 4 points. Was it 4 points? What did he have? So he was 2 kicks. So he left 7 points on the field. I suppose one of them was quite late on, wasn't it?
Yeah. I missed the extra point as well. Yeah.
Which I thought was big because that was to like make it. Was it 13 all?
13 all.
And when you miss that, you're like, it's like the dark arts of the Chiefs, but it just felt like, oh, the Chiefs have won this now because they missed that extra point. It was like it's a weird thing to think, but it's just like, like being on the same score just feels like a whole lot different to being 1 down because you have then because
you're chasing.
But it was the end of that 50. What was it? 10-minute drive they had coming out at halftime.
Yeah.
It was the end of that where it was like they just wore him down. That Texans O-line started to play that we haven't seen. That was like what they were doing last season.
Yeah.
Like Mixon was running down the throat. Like it was a perfect answer coming out at halftime to tie the game, and then you've done all that and you're still behind.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that drive because Bobby Slowick gets a lot of stick for running too much, especially on first down. And I felt like that was probably his like, fuck everybody, I'm right, I know what I'm doing. And then, you still come up a point short. And then the Chiefs go 81 yards, get a touchdown themselves. It's like, oh, we need a 2-point conversion now, need everything to be perfect again. And it just kind of felt like holistically that was it. It was just, it's not going to be your day, unfortunately.
I think it was just key moments. It was negative plays on offense when they need them, so getting themselves behind the sticks a little bit. And then they just, I think when Spagnuolo ratcheted up the pressure, especially in the fourth quarter, they just had no answer to it. And that's when we saw the worst of that O-line. And that was the O-line that's been there all season. Stroud just didn't have a chance. He just didn't have a chance.
Yeah. 8 sacks.
Yeah. And that's what we know that's what the Chiefs do in January and what Spagnuolo does. Ratchet up that pressure, and we're going to send more than you can block. Are you going to be able to get it out quick enough? And time again, they couldn't. I think that was the difference. Those were the difference. Just the Texans getting themselves into some dodgy positions. The penalties were a bit of a killer as well. Just getting themselves behind the sticks a little bit, making drives that little, conversions instead of getting into third and shorts. They were in third and mediums and longs, and that's where this Chiefs defense is going to thrive. And then on the other side, Mahomes and Kelsey, again, that was it, wasn't it? Because everything else offensively was a bit of a struggle, really. Only 4 players caught a pass, which is rare to see in an NFL game now for especially a good team like the Chiefs. It was all Kelsey all day long. And the other flip side of the Texans, try and cover Travis Kelsey. He was in just these zones where he had 10 yards of space in every direction. I
seen a tweet about it, and I resonated so much of it's like Jason Witten at the end of his time with the Cowboys, where he's just outslowing people.
Yeah,
it's like it shouldn't be possible for him to catch the ball and move forward, and yet he just I don't know, he just jimmies a little bit. It's like these old man dance moves, and all of a sudden he's got an extra 7 yards. You're like, how the fuck is this guy outrun it?
Anyway, he was getting 10, 15 yards after the catch.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, there's just a complete fall apart in the zones for the Texans where he was just nobody near him. It's like, how that is the one person on the offense you cannot let that happen to.
Yeah. Xavier Worthy beats you and breaks a 20-yard.
Yeah,
oh, well, fair enough. He's the fastest player in the fucking league. Travis Kelsey is out wearing New Balances, dad running his way down the fucking field. It defies logic. If that happened on a computer game, you'd be like, this guy's speed is 48. How's he outrunning all my defenders?
Just didn't feel like they had a plan for him. And once we're into these playoffs games with the Chiefs, that is where he's going. And Stingley was on him early. Didn't feel like that was the case all the way through. But yeah, you need a better plan for Travis Kelsey, I think.
Can we also give a shout out to Mahomes as well? It's one of them weird things because how many he's done in his career, it feels like he's been forgotten about. That he was getting tackled, falling to the ground, and throws. If that was if CJ Stroud did that, for example, it would be everyone would be talking about it, greatest throw and all this kind of stuff. But Mahomes is oh, yes, what Mahomes does. I've never really seen many people chat about it. It was, great right. Touchdown.
Well, we saw Joe Burrow do it in week 18, didn't we, I guess, to an extent, where maybe you were more being knocked than being tackled, but yeah, managed to make one similar to his receiver that was stood in the middle of everybody. Just Travis Kelsey wide open in the end zone is just, what are you doing? Just if he goes and outpoints you to it or gets to the height of the ball, fine. You can't just leave Travis Kelsey on his own in the end zone with 5 yards of space around him, or in the middle of the field with 10 yards of space around him in every single fucking direction. You're not going to beat the Chiefs doing that. Take notes, Buffalo. Sure, they'll have a much better plan for dealing with.
Should have had some sort of plan, not just have a blank space where they were going to write his name on the defensive.
Should we end that one there? Yeah, cool. Bills Ravens. Let's go. Bills Ravens. I'm a little bit worried for Lamar. We talked about this in the preview. What we didn't want to do is they're coming away, and one of them's Lamar Allen's going to get a load of stick and the narrative. And I mean, at least somebody's helping Lamar with that. His buddy Mark Andrews is copying a lot of heat as well. It kind of feels that's the narrative. Lamar in the big moments, making mistakes again. I feel like it's been the opposite. Than what I've seen in the national media. Everyone's sticking up for Lamar Jackson. I think everyone's going way too far. That they're saying it wasn't his fault at all. Blah blah blah. I think it's in between. I think he had a good game, but he made some bad decisions, especially in the first half, which put them in a hole, which made him play catch up. So he's got to take some responsibility, which he has in his press conference. He's said that. But yeah, I've seen a lot of national media being it's not his fault. He had a great game other than that, and going the complete opposite end. But he's 3-5 in the playoffs. He's never won 2 playoff games in a season. I think it's 50% of his playoff games he's turned the ball over multiple times.
And the problem it is, he plays so well in the regular season, and then he just has these games where I think this probably been his best playoff game. Like what he's lost, it's not been like some of the other ones, but it was still one of his worst games probably this year, even though just because of the two massive mistakes. Andrews is going to take
only game with multiple turnovers from Lamar this season, and it was the biggest one yet.
Yeah, and I think both of them were bad. Like the interception, I think he said he didn't, use his eyes to, move the safety, and he just threw that there, and it was an easy pick. It looks worse than, because he just was straight to the safety. And the fumble, it was a bad snap, and he managed to catch it and, deal with that. But, you got to protect the ball. It wasn't like someone punched it out or anything like that. He was tackled and he just, let go of it. And it's just them kind of mistakes where I think each team only had 7 or 8 possessions. So, 25% of your possessions, Lamar himself has given extra one to Andrews with that terrible fumble as well. That's a third of your possessions you've given it to the opposite team. And, on the balance of things, if you look in the grand scheme, they may have been the better team, like on offense and everything, but they just gave, the fine details. You gave the ball away 3 times and the other team played clean and did what they just had to do. It was, they must be kicking themselves on the flight home because, I think they lost it rather than the Bills won it.
And that's fair, I think, to say. I don't think Damar Hamlin should be credited with a forced fumble. I've never seen anybody being so far away from the ball register a forced fumble before. Like, he had all of Lamar's ankle and the ball's like 7 or 8 feet away. And anyway. I think it's just skills critical moments. The interception's a bad one. I guess you get them sometimes. That kind of happens playing quarterback in the NFL. But the fumbles, just take medicine. Go from 2nd and 12 or 2nd and 13, whatever it would have been. We can't do that. It flips the field. The Bills get points off it. When you lose by 2. And Matt Milano had a huge impact in the game, I thought, for the Bills as well. So he was the one coming up to pressure Lamar, which I think forced that ball out early. He gets the tip on the first 2-point attempt. Likely is free in the end zone. He manages to get a tip on that to stop that. Huge couple of plays there. But I think it was just those kind of 3 or 4 key moments the Ravens didn't execute. And I think we've seen a big change in the Bills. And I thought in this one, I think this might be they've tried it, the Josh Allen hero ball way before. It's not worked for them. They're trying a little bit of this play within themselves a little bit. And I thought it was a prime example in those 2 plays in particular. So we talked about Lamar there and the forced fumble and how he just spills the ball and gives it up. Josh Allen had a moment where he thought he might try and do something crazy late on in the game where they were just trying to rush him in for a 3rd touchdown, and he got stuffed, and he's ended up I think he has a split second where he goes, I'm going to try and pitch this back. Yeah. And he doesn't. He secures the ball, gets wrapped up, and they take the field goal and go, right, no, let the defense play. And they didn't stop the touchdown, but that could have ended up being a turnover or no points for the Bills in that moment, and maybe the Ravens then don't, Ravens win with a touchdown, win with a field goal, whatever. Just key moments. I think there's a difference in Josh Allen, and we've seen it through this year, where he's still playing to a high level. There's some games where he's had to do some of that stuff, but I think he's responding to it, to play that hero ball stuff when it needs to happen versus we're just going to try and play that way all the time. He's almost kind of sacrificed personal goals or personal stats and stuff like that for the greater good. In just a few examples in this game of that. And this might be why it can be different for the Buffalo Bills this time than when we've seen it before. Byron, what did you think? What did you make of it? Sorry, me and Joe have just been gassing away there.
No. Go ahead, please. I talk more than enough here on every other game, so please go ahead. I think the Josh Allen point is really well stated, though. And I'm kind of mentioned it in the preview, how clean Josh Allen has been playing this season. Turns out, NFL on CBS tweeted out this morning, Josh Allen's playing the cleanest football of any quarterback in NFL history.
According to the teams with great teams cover.
Per John Burner, good team to cover. Yeah. This season, he has the lowest percentage of plays with a sack, fumble, or interception since the merger. So only 4.2% of his plays end up in a sack, fumble, or interception. We're not going to revisit the MVP debate because I think both are great candidates. It is what it is. Josh Allen, I think Lamar Jackson played really well here, but kind of the Detroit-Washington kind of similarity is like Buffalo were almost perfect. I'm not going to say in terms of scoring because it was a different game, but in just being mistake-free. Like, they didn't give you anything. And again, kind of on the Lamar of it as well. In the last 8 playoff games, I think it is Lamar's played in, or not the last 8, the 8 that he's played in, the last 8 of the Ravens have played in. They've had 3 turnovers. That isn't good enough. Like, from 2008 to 2014, a 6-year span for the Ravens. Previously, they played 15 playoff games and had 42 turnovers. Like, that's what Ravens football is. And I'm not saying you can have your cake and eat it all the time, but 3 turnovers in 8 playoff games, it just isn't enough. It puts so much pressure on Lamar Jackson that, he wasn't perfect on Sunday. He, had 2 bad plays. He's beating himself up about the interception. Mark Andrews, not just the drop, but I mean, the drop is huge. The
fumble's bad. Yeah.
I don't know what he's thinking. Like, because the worst is as well, like, he jukes to his left, and like right is up the field. I don't know who he's trying to beat. Well, I know who he's trying to beat. I don't know why he's trying to beat them. Like, the Rams suffered with this as well. Know your conditions. If you ain't going vertical, get down.
Yeah.
Like,
because it was a 12, 13-yard reception, wasn't it? They've got a first down. Like, if he just gets tackled and goes down there. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I think it was a 16-yard play even. So I've just said 16-yard play on 2nd and 11. Yep. Keep moving the chains. Like,
and another 5 points down as well. I feel like that was I think that's the worst of the turnovers and whatnot. You're 5 points down. You've literally just gone in a drive before that where you just ran it down the Bills' throat, where they just could not stop you, where Henry was just finally went off. He had a quiet first half. But, they went 7 plays, 8 yards. And it was like the Bills, it felt like, they figured out the Bills' defense. They're going to go down now, go up by 2, maybe 3 if they go for the 2 points. Yeah. And then they become the favorite in this game. And it was just a huge, cost them massively, because I know the Bills only get the 3 points to go up 8. I'm curious what your feelings about that. I think they should have gone for the points. I think obviously getting the touchdown that would have killed the game there. But I was like, get the 3 points, go up by 8, and
I'm okay with that. Like, put yourself in a position where you can't lose. I know some other teams might have been a bit, because I think just the situation of the game. You're at home, take it.
And I think what's crazy as well is I've seen loads of people saying like, Andrews dropped, that cost them to go to overtime or cost them the loss. But the Bills had the Bills
was scoring. They were scoring.
They had a minute 33 with 2 timeouts. It's like, so that's why I thought go for the 3 points as well, because the Ravens teams are, a team which, if they are going to go down, they might do explosive plays, so they might get it with plenty of time to go, which they did. So even if they got the 2 points, you give yourself time to take it to overtime, or go up the field and just get a field goal when your kicker's been absolute nails during the game when he smashes that 50-yarder, which was a huge kick for them. But yeah, that Andrews fumble was a killer. Only 5 down.
So reliable, so experienced. He's had a slow start to the season, as you know full well for your fantasy team, Joe, but he came good throughout the second half of the season. Ended up having a real solid year, and then just key mental mistakes, like the catch is just a concentration issue. I think, like, just it's for Mark Andrews, that is an easy catch.
Yeah, it's inexplicable.
Yeah, sorry, Joe, to stunt on your fantasy team.
No worries. But yeah, I agree with all you guys about the Bills. Only thing I didn't like about the Bills, in the first half, they had 4 possessions and they got 3 touchdowns. Coming out of halftime, the first 2 possessions, they punted twice, and I felt like they went so conservative. I think we mentioned this earlier. When you get up, they start going. They were 11 points up, They just got a touchdown before halftime. They get the ball first. They went 3 and out basically and got 1 yard. And it felt like every one of them players were conservative, where I felt like win it here, go down, get up by 18, and you've won the game. And, again, it's one of them games where weather conditions, Josh Allen only got 127 throwing yards. So he didn't have to do much, but I think that's because they got the lead because Lamar made the mistakes when he was 7-all for you to get up by 11 points at halftime where they went conservative. But yeah, I didn't like that. I just thought, just go for this. Maybe try something, get up by 18, and you've more or less that could be the nail in the coffin. And then suddenly you went 3 and out. Ravens get a field goal. You got 6 and out. And then they score a touchdown for 2 points to equal it up. And I just felt like that was the wrong way to play it. But, it all worked out for them in the end. And I feel like against someone like the Chiefs who don't make their mistakes, who you just know, we always say, again, with Patrick Mahomes, I've been on the wrong side of it, being a 49ers fan. It doesn't matter if you're up by 10 points with 6 minutes to go. He's going to get points. So,
Yeah.
Do what you did in the regular season when Josh Allen got that touchdown to make it 2 possessions rather than be conservative.
I do think they're going to have to take it up a level next week, the Bills. I do. And I think they can. They're capable of it. I just wanted a quick one on this one. I was watching it because the game was late, so I only watched it this morning without knowing the score, which was good. But I was watching that going, especially in the first half, we're going to be sat here talking about the Ravens not using Derrick Henry. Why do you think they waited till they were 2 scores down to really hammer Derrick Henry? They got the running game going in the third quarter, and they took over and dominated. They didn't do that early, which I feel is the bit where you kind of tee it up a bit around, you run Derrick Henry. It might not necessarily work big early, but you get the benefits of that later on in the game.
I would say the Bills had a perfect game plan. I think I would give more benefit to the Bills played it great to stop Derrick Henry. I think the Zay Flowers injury was massive because you're like, let's stop this run. I know Bateman had a decent game and you got the 2 tight ends who can catch and also block. But it just felt like, let's stop this Derrick Henry. Let's rush the passion. Let's go all out to do that. And then that's what I meant. The second half, I feel like they figured it out. I said, okay, if you're going to do that, let's play 2 tight ends. Let's play bully ball. We're bigger than you. And let's just get Derrick Henry on. And he does make an effect in second half. You can stop someone like Derrick. We see with Barkley and Henry, they both come on strong in the second half because they get worn down and it's just it takes his toll. So I think it was more the Bills and Sean McDermott had a perfect plan in the first half rather than the Ravens just went away from it completely.
I'm just because we talked about the game, the trend with the games where the games that the Ravens have lost, Henry doesn't get 20 touches, and that's he got 16 touches again. I was maddening to watch it.
There is probably an element, though, to be fair. Derrick Henry's getting touches because they're leading.
And there is that as well, yeah.
That's why he's getting to 20, because the season came out.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm
surprised how much they stuck with the run in the second half, because as soon as we went behind, I was messaging our group, when are they going to give up on the run? Because that's been the common thread in the...
that's what's happened before, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. Bills head to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. They own a victory over the Chiefs this season. Should be a good one. I assume they're 2-point underdogs. 1.5.
1.5, yeah. I did feel bad in this game. I think I put in the group. I didn't want any of these teams to get knocked out at this stage. It felt I think that's why the AFC is so dominant and so fun, because they have these mega teams where there's 2 of them's got to play in the division round. Even if even if Burrows can make it next year, you've got 4 of the 5 best quarterbacks all playing against each other. It's a fun one. Disappointing. I do want to give a quick shout before I move on to Von Miller. How the hell he kept hold of that ball when he was getting chased down? Yeah, because he you just saw it. You see defenders all the time, scoop up a fumble and then just an offensive player just absolutely smash it out of their hands because they don't know how to keep all that ball. But yeah, I thought he absolutely nailed the ball as well. But Von Miller keeps it in his grasp.
Von Miller chasing another championship as well. We'll see. He was the MVP of Super Bowl 50. Played with the Rams on the Rams team in 21 money as well. Is that right? Yeah. Chasing the third championship. So we'll see if Miller and the rest of the Buffalo Bills can do it and get to the Super Bowl next week. Yeah, and apologies, Joe. I need to go back to the Chiefs-Texans. We only hit 3 bets between us this week. It was a rough all week for the good teams and great teams, guys. But yeah, your Kelsey and Schultz 50+ receiving yard bets at 4-1 plus 400. Great bet, great cash. And high the over in Ravens Bills, just so close to that. What would it have been? 75 or 80 at a one shot. It was on a little bit, whether it was the Ravens to potentially go 27-24. I think there was too much time left, to be fair. And it finished 27-25. I was pretty close. But we got the over, and that was the contingency for the over not hitting. So we got there. Yeah, shall we do just a quick check in on fourfold? I had a disaster. I'm throwing the towel in the fourfold for the postseason. Yeah. It's between you two. I'll let you two fight this one out. Joe, you had a 3-1 week, which is close to hitting the fourfold, which I think would have been incredible given we're only 4 games. And I thought you were there with Rams, Eagles, to be fair, the way that was meandering along.
Yeah, definitely. Just before that Barkley run, I was like, oh, perfect. I'd like Eagles to cover and also the under. And then I was like, just take 3 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
Kick a field goal. Happy days, and then
that's kind of exactly what I was hoping for. I bet both of those. So yeah, your Chiefs is the favourite, so they covered -8.5. You got them, unlike the poor folks who got them at -9.5. Over in Commanders Lions, which, as we mentioned, nearly hit by halftime, and the Bills is your underdog. Byron, you were 2-1-1, so you got a push on the Rams +6 as your underdog. Over in Bills Ravens, under in Chiefs Texans, and you were on the Lions as your big favourite who shit the bed, safe to say. And then I had 1-2-1. So I'm now 1-6-1. The fourfold. I had a push on the Eagles. Over in Chiefs, Texans didn't hit. Under in Commanders, Lions didn't hit. But I did have Washington Commanders. Sadly, didn't bet it individually. Just took it as part of the fourfold, which was done. So yeah, Byron, you're a game behind Joe. I'm out of it. I can still because we still got props and stuff like that to fill the other spaces. So maybe I can have a miraculous comeback. I'm probably going to need to go 9-6-1. Oh, yeah, Byron half a game back. Sorry, at 4-3-1. Apologies.
It's annoying because the Rams went closing line was +7. So in my head, this was +6.5. So I was like, oh, I've had a good week. Well, I mean, I had an okay week, but I was like, oh, 3-1, I'll take that. And then I didn't see it until we started recording. I was like, yellow. Why is it? I was like, oh, 6. I thought it was 6.5. Yeah. But yeah, I'll take it. It's better than 1-6-1, right?
It is a lot better than 1-6-1. And then on to our ATS picks. Joe, clean sweep of the board, 4-0. Obviously with the Chiefs.
3-1 across the Eagle game.
Oh, the push. I forgot the push. 3-0-1. It's because you left it highlighted. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, 3-0-1. So 7-2-1 on the ATS. So you're 2 games clear of me and a further game ahead of Byron. All on the Chiefs. Me and Joe, you were on the Commanders with me. I'll push on the Eagles and Rams. And you flew solo on the Bills, Joe. And then we'll rattle through Fantasy Game Day. The divisional round game. It's 2 weeks in a row we've cashed. I thought we were pretty unlucky. Our team dodged AJ Brown. Therefore, Hurts didn't give us quite enough. And we probably need, we had good targets and yards, but we needed probably another touchdown somewhere to have a chance. Shakir didn't get a touchdown, did he? I think he was 5 for 60, something like that. So we were good. It was good. I
think he went 6 for 67, looking at the screen here.
Sorry. Yeah, it's on the screen. I didn't see he was on the screen. Sorry. But yeah, so we were pretty good. We were flying after Saturday. We had a good start. And yes, Fantasy Game Day still going through the playoffs. Obviously, individual games, full slates. The two games and 1 game slate left. But come and get involved and play during the postseason. Use promo code COVER and come join the UK's best fantasy daily NFL fantasy offering. Our winning lineup was from Gold 9447 with a score of 171.56. Over 200 people playing as well, so still going strong in the round stars game. Jaden Daniels at quarterback, so had a real solid game. Gibbs, who was a beast, 2 rushing touchdowns, 100+ yards on the ground, and another 70 through the air. Saquon, 200 yards on the ground and his 2 touchdowns. Shakir, they had a 0 in as well. They carried D-Hop for a 0.
Well, they'll maybe listen to Good Teams Wins preview and heard someone recommend him.
Oh, dear.
They managed just fine. Don't worry about gold. 9447.
Kelsey was your shout, Joe, from the preview. Had a solid game, obviously 117 and a touchdown. Laporta and Likely. So, yeah, some heavy tight end action there from the winning lineup with Laporta, Likely, and Kelsey. But, yeah, great winning score, 171. We'll try again next week in a 2-game slate, and we'll see what we've got to play with. But, gents, I think that's us done.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Excellent. I didn't ask. I asked after the NFC. I should ask after the AFC. Bills, Chiefs, pick me a winner.
Got Bills.
Oh, I want the Bills so bad as well. But if I say Bills, it's going to curse them. I'll take the Chiefs just to hopefully give the Bills some.
You think this is what will do it for them?
Yeah.
It's not just Allen playing the cleanest football in NFL history. It's the Redmond bounce.
It's put on the board. No one believes in us, Paul Redmond.
All 3 of us not being on the same side. I think that's what it is. Because otherwise, we're just going to get Eagles Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and we don't want to run that back. It'll still be a great game, obviously, but we want Bills Commanders. I think that's what the people want. Give us some fresh faces, fresh teams in the Super Bowl, and that could be a hell of a game as well. But we'll talk about all that in the preview that we've got coming up for the championship games on Friday. We've got Matt from the UK Bills joining us to talk through Buffalo's chances against the Chiefs. Until then, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching and listening. Go join and follow all the pages if you've not already on Spotify. You'll be notified of new episodes when they dropped. You'll be notified of all our bets and posts and great graphics that Joe does on Twitter or Instagram at GTW_GTC or X. Sorry.
Back on TikTok.
We're back on TikTok.
That was a scary few hours.
It was rough. We're back on TikTok at GTW_GTC as well as Blue Sky, and I forgot one.
I don't think you did. You said Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitter.
And YouTube as well.
Oh, YouTube, yeah.
Of course, to see our faces. Until Friday and our championship preview, enjoy the rest of your week.